Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor.
And we're back. Welcome to Bitch Call Your Sponsor. I'm Sam.
Hello, Sam. I'm Misty.
This is, I want to say this is like the holiday special. Almost, I kind of feel like it is.
Yeah, we are entering the new year.
Entering the new year, yeah. Where do we start? Should we start with our primary purpose and then maybe maybe we'll start with our primary purpose and see where it goes.
That's a great place. Okay. Our
Our
primary
purpose
is to stay sober.
It's for Misty and Sam.
Oh, gosh.
I have to stay sober.
Okay. Our primary
purpose
is for
Misty and Sam
to grow their friendship and maybe help others. Oy vey.
So we're here. I'm just having a lot of feels and I guess what I'll do is I'll share the topic and then we'll kind of go from there because I think it all kind of will blend in. The topic that I thought of was tools, tips, and tricks, which is kind of as interesting as we're embarking on a new calendar year, and I think that there's definitely been a few tips and tricks up my sleeve around the holidays, but I think it's just tips and tricks in general, and the reason why I brought this was, ever vigilant, holiday, no holiday, job, no job, boyfriend, no boyfriend, new set of nails, broken nail, like it's ever vigilant. I've been around to see, people pick up over the big thing, divorce, death, destruction, birth, and the little thing, the broken shoelace, as it were, and I thought, as it is, quote unquote, recruiting season, as it were, there are lots of people, I think, that come in around the holidays, that it would be wise, I thought it could be good to share and pass on some of the things that's worked, and like the quick 3 things that I always share is knowing where my next meeting is at all times. And I definitely have one tomorrow. I may be going and meeting a newcomer later tonight. Actually, I just got a text about that. So knowing where your next meeting is, the HALTs, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or serious, which is the S HALTs. And then, really seeing where I am with regards to my higher power, and higher power is, for me, connection. It was the drink and the drug initially, and it was, am I moving closer, further from people, connection. And those are like my top 3s.
Those are great. And this is a really good topic. And like you said, especially around the holidays, it's a really good idea to check in on some of the basics and standards. And I think all the ones you suggested are like very grounded. They're very applicable. And what comes to my mind today is a little more esoteric, where whatever the situation is, one of my tips and tricks right now is let go of my attachment to the result. So that, whatever it is you're going through, if you can just sit with yourself for a minute and go, what am I afraid of will happen? And, if I'm afraid that, the job is going to let go of me, right? Then my letting go of my attachment to the result would be, okay, they might let go of you. You can get through that with yourself and your higher power. And so kind of just, that's one of my tools and tricks. Another one is being my own best friend. So like you mentioned, the higher power is really important. But I also feel like checking in with myself and being there for myself and not abandoning myself is one of my best tools, tips, and tricks today, which is I went through something over the holiday where I was driving in a city that I lived in for years, but I don't live in now. It was raining. It was dark. I was in a rental car. There were drunk drivers. And my passenger that's doing the navigation, I'm just snippy with, right?
Yeah.
Like just, oh my God, da, 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 you know? And we got in a big fight. And then the repair was, when I checked in with myself, the repair was I was scared. And I couldn't say those words out loud. And so when I went back to repair, it was, hey, I was scared. And I wasn't able to vocalize that. And I wish I would have. And I regret that I spoke to you like I did. But that only came because I could be my own best friend and not abandon myself. Oh, and the other part of that is once I check in with myself and got to the peace, I didn't care what the other person responded. I had no attachment to how they took my repair, which was super cool to see. And that's only 2, but that's all I have right now.
We are always aligned, and I'm literally at the edge of a cry. Like my hand is on my chest because like the tears, they're there and they will come. And it might be like a really audible, like Leo DiCaprio, Gilbert Grape, what's eating Gilbert Grape, like that, like, oh my God, get this person a tissue pronto. Like they're like inhaling their snot, like through their mouth. You know what I mean?
The
Like that.
Homeland cry.
Yes. That's the level that we're operating at today.
We're here for it.
But my heart sinks when I hear you share repair. And, I almost feel like Dr. Becky's got to be the number one guest at this point. I'm like obsessed with her.
Same.
And there's different things that we have been sending. You've sent me some, and it was the thing that and I never got to thank you. The thing that you sent me, the Glennon, with Dr. Becky for the holidays. That whole thing that I was like, oh, it just like all clicked in. And I remember I listened to the other Glennon with Dr. Becky over the summer. It was like in August, I want to say. And there was that example that Dr. Becky gave of going to this gymnastics party or something and the kid being hesitant to join the other children at the thing. And Dr. Becky, or I don't know who said, but they had the language and they said, you're feeling some sort of way. That's okay. I believe you. You could join them whenever you feel you're ready. It was like that kind of language that I never had. And it was in that moment. And when you sent that thing, the most recent one with her about this holiday, it just like kind of all clicked in. And so tools, tips, tricks, like the tool that I'm actually using isn't necessarily, I don't think in any of these programs, but I'm just going with it because it seems to actually get me deeper and closer to my core and more healing. And so what it is, it's like an 8 and 9 in AA, slept with ACA and took a little Dr. Becky, sprinkled.
Yeah.
And it's this whole other level of just like, oh my God, it's like, what? And so what it is like, Dr. Becky talks about the repair being a reconnection. There was a break in connection. And so the repair, the amend, whatever is about reconnecting, acknowledging what happened, taking responsibility for my impact, which is 2. And then 3 is sharing what I'm going to do differently. And so I don't know what happened, but it went through my filter in my brain. And I said, I'm going to do a repair from my parents to my child. The repair that never will happen because they don't have these tools. And so I'm like living or dead, and I've shared this with a few people that I actually work with and I'm doing it myself. And so what I've done is I've identified 2 different specific instances. And one was, I had my father had an affair. The other one was my bullying in in middle school, 14, 13, 12 to 14 roughly. And, I was suicidal and, my part in 4, how I reacted, my 4th column was I shut down. I withdrew. I didn't share with anybody, not in a, I should have shared with somebody, but it's like, no, I didn't feel safe actually, because it was like a double whammy. It wasn't just sharing I was bullied. It was sharing that I was gay, right? Like that was the other piece, which was so deep. And so what does this repair look like? It's like the acknowledgement. It's the acknowledgement of like the parent that I never had saying, hey, I noticed that you're not having dinner anymore and that you're not having an appetite. You're not picking up your friends' calls. You're in your room a lot of the time. It's that type of parent that noticed the child that was fading away and withdrawing. And it's like, it's like, for me, it's like acknowledging the don't talk, don't trust, don't feel, and like the third part for me, which is, because for me, what the growth is that I now become that loving parent.
Right.
What would that parent have done differently? My healthy Dr. Becky sprinkled parent is, I'm going to check in with you. Going back to what you said, like knowing what's going on, like I'm going to check in with you throughout the day. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to hold your hand. And I'm just going to be there for you. And even if you don't want to talk, I will just sit next to you. And that is the repair. And that is like this whole like, oh my God, what? Like I could just be there and just like check in, and the child may not even want to talk or share, but I could just sit there.
That's really beautiful. It makes me think of how difficult it is for a parent who's neglecting a child to notice the child. Like when you're neglecting your child, you're not going to be aware of how often they're eating. You're not going to be aware of how often they're calling their friends. You're not going to know their friends' names because you're consumed with your own world. And I remember when my therapist first said, like, okay, let's go through a story of your childhood and go into your little girl and tell her that you're going to be there. And I was like, I'm not going to be there for her. And she was like, say that you're going to be responsible and that you won't leave her. I'm like, well, I might leave her. I don't know. I don't want to go in and say that. And it makes me think of like, my parent was so emotionally immature that she viewed me as a peer, and she was scared of rejection, instead of realizing she had a child there that needed an adult. She didn't have it on board. She was an adult in her own body. And I really needed it. When Dr. Becky read that letter that she read on that holiday thing of like, it's never too late and you could go back in, and this is what you could say to your child, or you could say that your parent said to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what informed my decision to repair my trip. I mean, the person that was in my passenger seat was my son.
It's profound.
To do this, I was able to apply it. I wanted to do the whole letter, but I forgot about it and it never came up. But I'm going to.
It's so okay. So the next layer onto this, and it's like, of course, you're bringing this up. This is like, I'm doing the tips and tricks and tools, and it was like, this was the tool that I've literally used this week with multiple people. Where I was like, try it on for size. I don't know, and it's so quick. It's so quick. It's not even this whole thing. So I went to go see this movie yesterday, and I may go see it again tonight. It's called All of Us Strangers, and I'm not going to give it away, but it's incredible. And I just cry thinking about it and talking about it, because it all has to do with this repairing. And having the conversations that were never had. And And I'm at the place of like, it's when Dr. Becky said, repair is never too late. And then it's, I used to do this thing called laughter yoga where the body doesn't even know if I'm laughing for real or legit. Like it just will still produce those chemicals. So I like somehow it like merged in my brain. And it's like, it doesn't matter if my parents are making this repair, amend, whatever, or not. It's I get to do it and then now model that loving parent for myself because I didn't have that model.
Call you sponsor. Call you sponsor. Call you sponsor. Call you.
Bitch, call your sponsor.
Call your sponsor. Call your sponsor.
Monday. Send us an email with comments, questions, or concerns. bcysponsor@gmail.com.
Don't forget to rate 5 stars.